Hello, welcome to another episode of Creating Cultures That Outperform as we move on to episode 17 of Jerks at Work. There really are that many jerks, and we have a very long list coming. This week we have a great one. We have the check the box leader. They're everywhere, especially in big companies. These people can exist and survive and actually thrive, to be honest with you. I've seen it go all ways. And you can see we're down, getting to the bottom of that first column here. Next week we got the corporate sociopath, very interesting one. But we have a lot more coming, and we have a few new ones that Terry suggested that we're going to be adding to the list as well. So these are real personality types. They're in the way of productivity, and they tend to end up annoying people and damaging the culture. So let's take a look at who Mr. Check the Box is. In the big companies, one of the most common ones was the relay station, where they just, pass things up and down the chain, made sure they hit dates. I've worked for them directly. Terry's worked for them. What do you think about these folks, Terry?
Yeah, this person is really just focused on task completion, not really a meaningful outcome. So they just want to just go through their checklist, boom, 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 boom. We're getting things done. They're proud of their list. They're not focused on quality at all. They're just
Yeah.
focused on let's get it done and move on to the next thing. They don't really care if it's meaningful or helpful in any way. They're focused on success measures being by activity, not effectiveness. So they just really want to get it done. And they are absolutely obsessed with the optics, how it looks to everybody else. Are they in compliance? All of that is much more important than having a quality delivery.
Yeah.
This person is just driven by their need to finish a list. They're not really trying to drive the results to something productive and meaningful. They're really just focused on, we got to finish this list and we got to get things done.
But I'll tell you, they can be very clever in the way they present things. Even
Yes.
though they're really not adding a lot of value, they may sound
Yes.
very on top of things. Like there was a guy years ago, Chase Manhattan Bank, who had all these phrases. He'd get in the meeting and say, "We got to nail this down," or "Hey, time to put
Yes.
that to bed. We got to put that to bed." And management loved him, but he was a relay station, and he'd make sure
Yeah.
he got things done. He could talk about it just enough to be colorful. And here's what we did, and this is why this is good. Blah 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 blah. And they love the guy, but if you worked it for him or in his area, he never gave clear direction, never added value. You'd bring stuff to him, he'd go, it's not quite right. Let's do something else. But he could never tell you what he wanted up front, ever.
Yeah.
But he could present really well in management, no question about it. He had a gift that way.
Yeah. It's very frustrating when you're dealing with this kind of person because especially if you're a person that's more focused on quality and
Yeah.
making sure that we're having some meaningful results, it's not so much important to get speed, right? So sometimes when you try to go fast, you compromise quality to do that. And so you really have to be careful when you're working with this kind of person. So they're not just forcing you down this path of completing checklists, following process, we can improve it later, like all these kind of things that they say about just getting things done. Sometimes it can cause quality to slip, but they don't really care about that. They just want to make sure they're getting things done.
Their
And so,
currency is I get things done. That's how they present
yeah,
themselves. I get
yeah,
things done. Hey, we nailed that down. We put that to bed. This is
yeah.
very important. Everybody, we got a great job here.
Yeah, whether or not they have improved the situation is not important.
No,
Whether or not they've
great.
added value, not important.
Not
I
important at
completed
all.
the task that I was given.
Yeah. And, these people have a lot of impact on teams since they're not really motivating people. They're not inspiring people to do better work. They're not painting a picture of where they're going. So there's a lot of motion, but no momentum. And at least people feeling like work, these are just tasks. There's really
Yeah,
nothing important about this because they don't add the color to it. They don't drive innovation. They're experts at getting it done. Hey, we got it done. We're on time. My area is always on time with everything. That's a currency. So,
yeah.
the people become a bunch of robots.
Yeah. So innovation and critical thinking really do take a hit in this type
Yep.
of an environment because people stop thinking and caring because they feel like it doesn't matter. Because the person that's leading the charge is really just going to go and say, let's just get it done. And their focus has to shift from innovation and being, out of the box thinking because we got to move fast. And so you don't have time for that. You really do feel like you're a robot and you're just kind of taking orders, go do whatever that person is telling you to do versus feeling like you're an actual contributor that can think through and add value. Because
Oh,
again,
yeah.
this person's not focused on value. They don't really care
Oh,
about that.
no. But I'll tell you one other thing that's interesting, and I've noticed with people like this is they want to be done on time and they want it to look good. So they might be
Yes.
focused on the packaging, but not the content. As
Right.
long as you got the content in there, they want the packaging to look good.
Hmm.
And, hey, check the boxes. Looks good on time. I'm always on time with all my deliverables. Hey, we're a great team, blah, 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 blah. No one really buys into it.
Yeah.
And, what are different ways of handling them, Tara? What would you do with them?
Yeah. So you really do have to tie the work to outcomes. So what are we trying to achieve? What results are we trying to achieve? What are we trying to accomplish with all of this activity? So we're not just trying to finish the work, but we really do want there to be some meaningful result at the end. We want to point them back to impact focused questions. So how do we measure success? Success cannot be measured by completion. We really do have to focus on how do we get this done, but we also get it done in a quality manner, in a way that's adding some value to people. Because sometimes when you're working on something, you get through it and you realize, hey, this is not really the value add that I thought it was going to be. And
Hmm.
you need to shift gears. But this person is not going to let you shift gears because they want to complete the task. They want to get it done. And so they're
Well, they
going to
got to be on
fight.
time. They got to look good somehow.
Yes, they're going to fight you tooth and nail
Yeah.
if you try to change and go in a different direction. So you really do have to focus them back on success factors and how do we slow down the rush to just finish things and actually focus in on our outcomes. What are the results we're trying to do? Show that the check boxes failed in reality. So just checking it off and doing it versus the actual result at the end, it was not beneficial. So you got to help them see that. You got to reframe
Yeah.
success metrics and drive them to being not just completed, but effective. How are we getting to some meaningful results and not just we finished it, so we're good?
Yeah, and things not to do. You don't want to comply silently. Look, they're individuals. They do want it on time, but they also want it to be a good product. They're not idiots. They're happy to get to check the box and not drive it to a better product, but you can influence them and say, hey,
Yeah,
we could do this. This might be better. So don't be silent. And don't put low quality stuff in, even if they want to, because your name's on it too. Always
that's
get good
right.
quality stuff out, because it's going to reflect on you. You're part of the area. This area does crap work. You're going to get caught in that halo. I think you still got to do good quality work. You're not going to get their attention and have them dig into the details and go through a lot of different options. So they're not into abstraction or detail at all. It's not that
No.
personality type. And that's one of the reasons that, they're happy to just check the box because they're really not capable of abstraction and looking at things differently. And, they don't see the gap consequently. And if you can make the gap visible with examples, you can get to them and influence them.
Yeah,
These
you gotta
people are
get
not
them back to reality, to
right.
focusing in on what's actually happening and not this vision of what they have made up in their mind.
Yeah. And like we say on all these personality types, don't escalate the frustration. You're not gonna win.
Yeah.
It's not gonna win at all. And these people do a lot of collateral damage. Um,
Yes.
you get a very transactional environment, for one thing.
Yes.
Very
It
transactional.
it becomes very transactional because people feel like it's pointless, like things just don't matter anymore. So whatever you want me to do, I'll just do it. I'll check the box, I'll move on to the next thing, and I'll stop caring about it. And in the society that we're in today, you really cannot afford this type of behavior because innovation has to be embedded in how we think and do everything every day. You don't want your high performers to leave because they're so frustrated
They're not
and
growing.
don't want to, yeah, not growing. They're not able to use all of the skills that they have that would actually make things better and improve
Yeah.
things. So they're feeling like I'm just stuck in this transaction where tell me what to do and I'll do it. But a lot of people don't like that kind of work and they don't like mediocrity.
No.
And when that starts to become normalized, then it really causes people to run for the doors because they feel like no one really cares about this work
Well,
that we're
even
doing.
worse, the high performers want to be on a winning team, and they know
That's right.
mediocre work means they're really just an average team. This person's talking up, maybe he looks good, but nobody
Yeah.
thinks there's any superstars on that team. So they are heading for the door. And they
Yeah.
stop saying, hey, why are we doing this? Because good enough is on time is okay. And they're not going to put the extra effort in eventually.
Yeah, when people get to this point, and this is true in work relationships, personal relationships, whatever the case might be, when people stop asking why and they stop challenging you, they have checked out. They are
Checked out.
completely gone and they don't care about it anymore. And that's a dangerous place in any type of relationship because that person has stopped caring. And when you stop caring, it is a slippery slope and it's absolutely leading that person to want to disengage and leave. They're
Big time.
completely ready to go.
Yeah. And, this is really a leader who they think that motion and momentum are the same thing, activity with achievement. Um, and that's a real problem because when you have a really good leader, they're helping you grow. You're learning under them all the time. They're learning
Yeah.
different ways of leading, how to ask questions, how to coach people. They're giving feedback. Um, yeah, great leaders aren't just check the box people at all, ever. These are absolutely some of the worst people to work for, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's extremely frustrating, especially if you're a creative, innovative thinker. This person is going to challenge you every time you try to do anything that's out of the box, anything that's out of the norm. They're going to challenge you every step of the way. And that can be frustrating for people that are actually naturally inquisitive, they're
Yeah,
naturally creative. You need to allow people that outlet so that they don't feel like, oh, I'm just going along to get along. I'm just doing whatever I'm told. Like, it's really a frustrating place to be.
yeah, they're very frustrating, no question
Yeah.
about it. So look at we're going on with the series, and as I said at the beginning, next week we have the corporate sociopath. They've done studies. Maybe 20% of CEOs are corporate sociopaths. Some of the numbers show. So this is a real personality type. They're very destructive. And in a world where generally people are more narcissistic and less caring about others, I think more of these people can flourish, quite honestly, than in the past. So we're here every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Next Wednesday, we are going to be covering the corporate sociopath. So I hope you can be with us.
Yes. Bye for now.